Hey guys, welcome back to part two of our Steve McQueen discussions. Uh, we went a little bit longer on our Hunger and Shame chats, so we're now going to be doing 12 Years a Slave, Widows, and Blitz in this part. And yeah, I'll let Massey fade in and introduce 12 Years a Slave. Thank you.
Okay, doke. We will move on to the next film from Steve McQueen. So we're now on to 12 Years a Slave. In the pre-Civil War United States, Solomon Northup, a free black man from upstate New York, is abducted and sold into slavery. Facing cruelty as well as unexpected kindness, Solomon struggles not only to stay alive, but to retain his dignity. In the 12th year of his unforgettable odyssey, Solomon's chance meeting with a Canadian abolitionist will forever alter his life. Collie, first thoughts on 12 Years a Slave?
So I'd seen this film once before, and as soon as I started watching it, I was like, why have I chose Steve McQueen? There's one of his other films that we'll talk about that made me think that, but this is for a completely different reason. This like just so quickly into the film, it's upsetting, and it's just continually upsetting for the whole runtime. But I think it's right to do that. It's so like uncompromising. It's like Hunger. It doesn't hide away from showing anything. And so I'll just clarify. How do you say it? Is it Chiwetel Ejiofor? Ejiofor?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like not just like a career best performance for him by far, but I think it's like one of the most powerful performances I've ever seen on a film. This film could easily have like delved like went on to the kind of cliche like Oscar baity, and obviously it won loads of Oscars and was nominated for loads, but I think it was like fully justified. It's such a like well crafted, well acted, well written film. And as much as I was just like, oh fuck, why have I got to watch this again? I'm glad we're getting to showcase it and talk about it.
Todd?
Yeah, so this is the only Steve McQueen film that I'd seen prior to the rewatches for it. I saw it at the cinema, and I think I'm with you, Collie, in that it was one of those films where, from a filmmaking perspective and from a message, like you want to watch it, like it's something that you want to watch, but at the same time, it's not in any way, shape, but there's no level of it where it's like enjoyable. And I know we'll get to it, but even like the end and knowing what happened, and there's no, even though there's a resolution of sorts, I still wasn't like, do you know what I mean? He still had to live that. Performances were amazing. Again, cinematography is incredible. It's an amazing film that is so hard to talk about because you don't want to be like, yeah, I really enjoyed it, because that's not the sense that you have from it. It's a case of it's just one of the most powerful films, and I think the Oscar bait stuff is spot on. I think you could easily make this horrendous, and he's got it spot on. Massey?
Yeah, again, this is I'd watched this once before as well, when it was like, I think when it just came out and all the Oscar buzz and stuff. I watched it then. I don't think like when I watched it back then, though, I had as much knowledge or like appreciation as to what happened. Like it was more kind of like I watched the film and that was it. But like watching it again as a more mature sort of person.
Yeah, 2013 Massey was not ready for this film.
Yeah, exactly. Like exactly. Like it is so upsetting, isn't it? Like it's a hard watch, as you say, in terms of enjoyment. There's not very much from it. It's unflinching. It is a really well made film, and it just made me depressed. It's just like I'm already depressed as it is, but it made me even fall even further into the pit of despair. But yeah, it's a very good film with some very good performances, and some of the most upsetting imagery you'll see. So let's go into performances then.
Let's just
I know,
go.
I know. I feel like Todd first thing in the morning. Yeah. Performance wise, obviously, you know, as you said, Chiwetel Ejiofor, is that how we're saying it, or?
We'll say that. Yeah, I did Google it a few times, and it's kind of that's the kind of general consensus.
We can say Mordo from Doctor Strange if you want. No. Okay. Chiwetel Ejiofor. Thoughts on his performance then? Of course, Colin. I know you touched on it in your first thoughts there, but take it away.
Unreal. The journey I think that he takes us on in this, what is it, 2.5 hour film, which is weird. Like, see, if it was made nowadays, this would be 4 hours or something like that. It's amazing, like in the last 10 years, how films that have become bloated and stuff. Like, we didn't really touch on it, but Shame's like 1 hour and 40 minutes, but it's like concise and tight, and like it's just what needs to be. Anyway, it's the same with this film. Like, this film could have been a 2-parter, it could have been an epic, all this kind of stuff, which it is, but it's just every scene like means something. And Ejiofor, like, when you first meet him, he's obviously a successful carpenter, musician. He's got kids and stuff, and it's all like happy, and he loves his wife, and his wife loves him. They live he's a free man, obviously, and he lives in Saratoga, New York, and got a house. It's not what you picture a black person having at this time, but he's obviously made it for himself, and he's successful and stuff, and then quickly he's drugged and kidnapped, and it's amazing, like how not from like him not being strong or anything. This is more from a Solomon thing than a performance, but I guess it goes hand in hand. Like how quickly he learns to be quiet and learns to not show himself to be a learned man, and he denies his existence, but that's to survive. That conversation between him and the other male slaves on the ship and stuff, like, do not let them know that you can read and write and stuff like that, because these guys are obviously more experienced than him, having been slaves for all their lives, majority of their lives, whatever. So it was like he relents to an extent, but he's always like strong in his resolve, and he always demands respect from the slave owners, even though they're never going to give it to him. It's an inspiring performance from a character perspective. Like, even one of the like, it's just like when he's discussing the engineering behind the boat and the crossing of the water and stuff, and Paul Dano's there, and Benedict Cumberbatch is there, and he lists off all this engineering speak, and Benedict Cumberbatch is just like, oh, I'm going to say I'm impressed even if you won't. And I just thought that just shows the background of it. But if we're going to talk about like one scene and one performance in this, it's when he meets his family again. And when he says that I apologize for my performance, it's like every time, and even just talking about it, it's so upsetting. Like, imagine you being away from your family for 12 years because you were an abducted slave, and then you apologize to them for the way that you look. Like, how broken of a man must you be? And you believe every second of it. Like, you just believe every second of it. So he didn't win the Oscar for it, and I can understand why, because Matthew McConaughey won it for Dallas Buyers Club, which is an amazing performance, on a very heavy subject as well. I think any other year he would have like clearly won it, but I don't like an Oscar doesn't like make this performance any more or less one of the most unbelievable performances I think I've ever seen. Just knocked out of the park. And like, when you see them, he's in Marvel films, or he's in like 2012 and stuff like that. Like, he's just doing films because that's the films he wants to do, or that's the film he gets. But it's interesting as well that he didn't want this part, or he was unsure of taking this part, and he took convincing to take it. I didn't really find out why. I don't know if it's because he didn't feel like he could do it justice, or if it was just too heavy a subject or not. But I think in that respect, he must be glad that he took it, because, like I say, just iconic in the most like tragic way. Todd, what would you have to say about Solomon Northup?
Mainly, it was the change, that sort of transition from free man and how comfortable he was. So, like that scene in the shop where, I mean, obviously he wasn't comfortable with what happened, but like as in how comfortable he is in himself. And then obviously the young lad walks into the shop, and it's not said straight away that he's a slave, but obviously then the person comes in and makes him leave again. That transition from that, where he knows what's going on, but he's happy with what he's got, to pure survival mode. Like, if I didn't know the ending to this, if I didn't know the story of Solomon Northup, you'd still go, this is the story of somebody who is going, out of everybody, he will survive because of and again, that's down to the performance. of Ejiofor for me. Like it was, like you say, that sort of he knew when he had to be quiet. He knew, and then the attack of Paul Dano's character was just, again, took me by surprise a little bit, because I thought, there's no way, even though, and I know we'll get to Paul Dano and his performance, but like his character, the actual person, like there's no way that in a fight Dano's character's coming out on top. There's no way. But I was still like, he's not going to attack him. Why would he? Why would he put himself in that sort of danger? And just after that as well, the scene where he's hanging by his neck and trying to like survive on his toes, the look in his eyes, that like fear of, this is it here, this is where I go, it was ridiculous. But like you say, that final scene for me, just, I don't think I've seen anything like it or felt like it since watching it, if that makes sense. The desperation of wanting to be back, and the fact that it didn't show that it was his family. You don't see his family until after he's finished talking. Was incredible. It was absolutely, a career best from by a long way. Massey?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like from, I think as soon as he's almost not beaten, but he's like kind of coerced into getting a new name from what's his name? Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti. Like just outside the ship, like you almost start to see that turn there from, when his identity's essentially gone, as the free man and he's now the slave. Like that was like the turning point, and seeing him become that slave, that not the free man that he was, like, is just is crazy. Like there's also a moment when he's for Sarah Paulson's character, he goes to the shops for her, and he like thinks about running and runs into these people that are lynching this lynch mob. They're lynching these other two black characters, like, and the way that his internal, you almost see his internal monologue and his internal fight, like the cogs turning and stuff and working out what he can do, but then ultimately just sinking back into that kind of what's the word, like subversiveness, I suppose, for these for this lynch mob. It's like so fascinating, like the way that he played it. Like it's just unbelievable. And I mean, you guys have both spoke about the final scene, but like it's ridiculous. Like the acting for that is incredible. Like you believe every single word when, like, say, when he apologizes, and even when he says to his daughter, "Who's this?" pointing at her husband, holding their baby. Like it's just like, it's so emotional. It's ridiculous. Like it's hard to put into words how incredible the performance is. Like it's just absolutely tiers above 99% of acting performances. It's just that bloody good. Like I can't believe how good he is. He's embodies the role, and yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's one of those that, like, where people say, you need to watch this film, or you need to watch this film. Like, you need to watch this film just purely for that performance, just because it is so head and shoulders above a lot of the things that have come before it. So yeah, unbelievable. It's obviously a large cast. There's a load of different characters that sort of like come in, come out, and we meet along the way. Obviously conscious of time limits and things that we need to kind of hopefully try to stick to. But there's any characters that kind of like stick out for yourself? I mean, Collie, do you want to kind of? I mean, I know obviously we've spoken about it before, but I think maybe Fassbender's one that's obviously a big part of the story. But was there anything that he did, anything that anyone else came in and did that stood out for yourself?
Yeah, so like I guess we can kind of quickly touch on Cumberbatch and Fassbender back to back as the two like owners of Solomon. Both use Christianity as like justification for their use of slaves. Obviously, Fassbender acts in a much more cruel way. yeah, I thought Fassbender was great. Again, just Steve McQueen knows what to do with him, and he knows what to do for Steve McQueen. The scene where he comes in like in the middle of the night dancing, he's like, "We're all gonna dance" and stuff like that. He's just completely manic, unhinged. But if we're gonna like just talk about both those performances, I thought they were both great. But Lupita Nyong'o, as her debut, this was her debut, and she won the Oscar for it, rightfully so. Unbelievable. That conversation that she has with Solomon, asking him to kill her, essentially, is just devastating. And he's just like, "How can you bring that? Was it damnation upon me?" and stuff like that. But she's like, "Well, I've got no other choice." And then that whipping scene is just horrendous, like horrendous. And she said it, like I was reading some stuff for her. She said it was quite hard to act because obviously it wasn't hitting her, but she had to react to the sound like instantly. So to get that like timing and cadence down, I thought it was just really good from like a physicality and like an acting chops standpoint. But no, she was amazing and so powerful. And yeah, her goodbye to Solomon was just like devastating as well. But no, I thought she was really good, and especially for your debut of all things, to be asked to do something like that. Like you're defining your career on one performance, you know. And she's gone on to do like so many other amazing things. But yeah, she was fantastic. And I guess two more performances I'll just quickly comment on. Paul Dano just plays a guy that it's so easy to hate. Like he does it so well. Just this whiny, like power hungry, power mad, whatever you want to call him. Like it's so like it was so mirrored to his There Will Be Blood performance. I thought as the priest, just this power like guy in a position of power. Just the screeching that he does and the wails that he does and the whining that he does. It's just Paul Dano's so good at like being a character that it's easy to hate. And an actress who I don't particularly rate or like, Sarah Paulson though, in this I thought was incredible. Just like I guess it's a McQueen thing, but just the two times that she's like physically abusive towards Patsy when she just lobs the glass bottle at her head, like it's so. Like exactly what you did there, Massey. Like when she does it, like not every time, but like the first time I rewatched this, I just like almost like burst out like what the fuck, like laugh almost, because it's just so unassuming because they're all just dancing and stuff, and then she just like baseball pitches this decanter into her face. It's absolutely brutal. And then when she scratches her, and that one, that's even more personal because she goes right up into her face and scratches her. I thought she was incredible, and she's an actress who I don't particularly rate in a lot of things, but I thought she was brilliant in this. And just I will let you guys talk in a second, I swear.
It's fine.
I'll just put one more. Just it's more of a quote because I only wrote down a couple of quotes. That Mistress Shaw, so the black ex-slave that was then married to this plantation owner Shaw when Patsy's having tea. One quote that she says, "In his own time, the good Lord will manage them all. The curse of the Pharaohs was a poor example of what waits for the plantation class." So she says that to Solomon and stuff. And then when Solomon whips Patsy and then Fassbender Epps takes over, and then Solomon's shouting at him going, "You'll pay for this," and stuff like that. It's just reflective of what that Mistress Shaw had said to him, that was like, you know, what happened to the pharaohs and the ancient Egyptians and stuff will pale in comparison as to the kind of repercussions of the people that treat us this way. Which is kind of an overarching kind of theme of the film, is like they don't get their comeuppance. Spoiler alert for the end of it, but these guys that kidnap Solomon don't get their comeuppance. Epps doesn't get his comeuppance in the film or anything, but you know, these people's time will come was kind of the message that was kind of mirrored in both of those scenes. But yeah, Todd, miscellaneous, or not miscellaneous, but all the other performances. Touch on stuff that you liked and maybe disliked.
Yeah. So Nyong'o, Lupita Nyong'o, for me, the moment really was where Fassbender's like looming over it, and she's not looking forward, she's looking out the barn. She has power, like, and not in the sense of like, you know, when Tom Cruise is in a film, it's like, oh, that's Tom Cruise, the action star. Like, you know, you're getting the best performance from Lupita Nyong'o. Like you say, the whipping scene was horrific, but you know, obviously she wasn't getting whipped, so to know, like, for her to be able to do that and deliver that so well was incredible. Benedict Cumberbatch is Benedict Cumberbatch in this. Do you know what I mean? He's very much, he does what he does well, and I'll come to the other side of the coin for that, actually. He does what he does. He's got that sort of, like, there's almost a level of, when we were talking about the prison guards, he sort of doesn't want to be the bad guy, but he's also a slave owner, like, you know, pick a lane type thing. And where he does it well, but does what he does, I liked Sarah Paulson, because I've watched American Horror Story right through, and I really enjoyed her at first, but she does the same thing in everything. And I think maybe if you'd have asked me on my first watch of this, back before I knew her from American Horror Story, back when it was like, it was fresh, but I get it. It was Run. Run was a decent film, but she did me editing in that as well. Paul Dano.
Sorry, just the main reason I dislike her is because I hate Glass. Glass is terrible. Spoiler for our M. Night Shyamalan episode, but yeah, her in Glass is
I still haven't seen it, but I imagine she does something very similar. She has a shtick that she
does the weird mouth thing and screams a little bit.
She's good in the O.J. Simpson drama series. Sorry, Paul Dano. Yeah. Carry on.
No, it's when he's singing the song and making the slaves clap along with him. Like you say, a character that's so easy to hate, and the passion in his voice and the enjoyment that his character is getting out of singing
just to clarify his character. Sorry, that's
why I like that his character is getting out of it. Like is horrendous. Like at no point is there like a sort of like, when you see people who are manic on screen, sometimes you get a bit of like a laugh out of them. But in this, that every bit of it, the more energy he gives it, and the more sort of vigor he gets out of it, the more you hate him and the more uncomfortable you get. Like, it's just horrendous, but obviously it's because of an amazing performance. Like, I'm not, I'm not taking away from that. Sorry, I'm trying to think of, just as we go through. It was, Michael Kenneth Williams on the boat. Again, very much a bit part, isn't in it for long. But again, I just think how natural he is with his dialogue and how serious he is with it was fantastic.
Have you seen The Wire?
No, never watched it.
He's Omar in The Wire, like very iconic TV character. He's amazing. I've got like a little bit of trivia on him. It was a deleted scene, but he apparently had like a complete emotional breakdown filming this because it was just so harrowing to be playing a slave. The stress of recreating such painful material caused him to collapse on the ground after a take where he screamed and cried for an extended period as one of the stunt coordinators comforted him. Like, that's and kind of on the Fassbender and Younger thing, they had like a performance of making nice to each other. We wouldn't say anything to each other, just a look in the eye and a grasping of hands. Our characters are in such opposition, but we as actors needed each other in order to be able to go the distance. And I'd like everybody in this it must be so difficult with films like this to like pick up and put down. Even if you're not like quote unquote like method acting and that, but just to like be able to turn up to work every day must be absolutely brutal. But they're passionate about the kind of
getting that message across,
the subject and the message and stuff like that. Sorry, Massey. Sorry, Todd, are you done?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah. Massey.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to like parrot what you guys are saying and stuff like that. There is one performance we'll talk about though. That's Brad Pitt. He's so miscast. Like I hate him in this. Like, it's one of the things that I absolutely like. I think his performance is like, he's this Jesus figure that comes in and is like the savior sort of thing. Like, it doesn't do anything for me. It really does not, and it kind of takes me out of it a little bit. I just think it's like the things he works with, it was quite wooden. I really did not like his performance, and I believe this film was produced by his production company, so I do wonder if there was that sort of thing into it. I don't know what you guys thought of his performance, but I really did not like it at all.
I just thought it was forgettable. Like that, to the point where, like, we're going through these And don't get me wrong, I like Brad Pitt in terms of performances all over the show. He's a fantastic actor, but yeah, for me it was forgettable. I do remember, like, especially like sort of what we talk more than like 11 years ago type thing, or 11 years ago when it came out, like not being on the pulse of like production companies and who's involved with it. But I seem to remember there being quite a big thing about Brad Pitt getting this sort of like, not savior role, but like this, the good role in it, and his production company being a part of it. But yeah, it pales, I think, in comparison to like say even Benedict Cumberbatch, who's playing Benedict Cumberbatch, like doing the same thing he does. It pales in comparison to them. So yeah,
fair.
Colin, I don't know if you sort of.
I wholeheartedly disagree with both of you, to be honest. I can understand the whole it's his production company and like he's cast himself kind of thing, but there was quotes not just from him but at the time that the film would have struggled to get the financing if Brad Pitt wasn't involved in it. It's similar to like how Tom Cruise does stuff like Jack Reacher and that. Jack Reacher wouldn't get the funding or the kind of star power if Tom Cruise isn't involved. And at the end of the day, like folk were complaining at the time. I remember the discourse at the time of, he's just playing the white savior. He's cast himself as the white savior. I was like, Sam Bass is like, he's a real person. Like, he actually did submit his letter. It was him that kind of saved him. So maybe casting himself in it's like, but I don't know who else I would cast in it. Mm-hmm. I think like it's perfect. I think his delivery's fine. I think the message that he puts across is fine. That there was decent folks there in this crowd of white horrible people. The Samuel Bass was a real person and did save him. So I know kind of objections to it, and from a performance perspective, I thought it was perfectly fine. Not an award-winning performance, but like there's so many strong performances in this film, it would be hard to do it in the kind of however long he had in the film. It was just briefly at the end. So I thought it was fine. I do remember the discourse around it, and watching this, I was wanting to pay attention to how much is he actually in it and how much is what he does and what he says true. And did a bit of digging. And Sam Bass, like, he's got his own Wikipedia page. Like, he was a real person that helped save Solomon. So I didn't really. I went in expecting to have something negative about it because of the discourse around it. Like I said, sort of like you said, like 10 years ago. But I thought it was perfectly fine. And even from a behind the scenes thing of this film might have not been made or might have not had the same casting as it did because of the financing, because Brad Pitt's involved, then I'm absolutely fine with that.
Fair enough. Anything else? Cinematography, shots, what to talk about before?
I think like just the whole film and one Hans Zimmer's music I thought was incredible for this. You could tell that it's Hans Zimmer. He's kind of got a style. There's a bit of Inception sounding music and stuff in it at times, but I just thought the tones throughout it, from a score perspective, were spot on. Were really, really good and emotional. Like they drew the emotion out of a lot of scenes.
Definitely.
No, nothing really else to add for me apart from scoring it.
Todd?
Just the violin when they taken the kids away, I thought that was it was amazing. Horrible, probably like of all the harrowing things, it was one of the most harrowing things in the film, that like they're forced to play these like jigs on the violin as the separating parent and child was horrific. And the start. The other thing was that when he was hanging, and the fact that life was just happening around, like nobody was doing anything about it. Nobody was trying until obviously somebody came and gave him water, but like nobody was doing anything about it. Kids were playing in the background. It just represented how horrible it was perfectly. I think it really hit home.
Another shot like that was after I think it's the first Counting Epps, and Solomon and another slave get taken out to be whipped, and they're in the background and it's blurred, and then it's just got Patsy in the near playing with her dolls and singing, or making those dolls, not playing with her dolls, making those dolls and stuff that she was doing, and she's just singing along, and in the background, blurred out, you can see them tied up and getting whipped and stuff. It's just, like you say, Todd, it's the everyday life just goes by. Because I watched a YouTube reactor to this, and they're like, why isn't anybody helping him? I'm like, well, obviously people won't want to go and help him and stuff like that. And it's funny, like the same person at the start of it, when he got abducted and stuff, was like, you can't be a slave for 12 years, surely. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's going to be based on the title, but okay.
That's a fact.
I was like, oh bless.
Yeah.
like because it was a first time reaction, but I was just like, yeah, well, it's not called that for nothing,
Okay, do you want to score it then? Collie, what was your score for this film?
It's a 5 for me. So I watched it 3 times for this. The first time I gave it 4.5, and then when I watched it for the second time, I was like, how am I doing that? So it's 5, like clearly. I can't be sitting here going that not only is it like a best ever performance by Ejiofor, but like one of my most impressive acting performances ever, and not give it 5.
Todd?
Yeah, it's perfect in the sense, everything we've said, basically. It's a 5 for me.
Fair. I give it 4. But basically, the reason I gave it 4 was watching it again, like, I spoke about what I love about it. There was things that it definitely felt like Oscar baity and stuff as well, and it was really tough. Like, it was a really hard watch. Like, I know I should probably give it more of a rating, like a higher rating, because it's an objectively a good film. But I struggled with like the subject and stuff, and that again, I suppose that's one of the things that I should rate it higher, because it's a very good film about a subject that garnered emotion from me. But I struggled to rate it higher because I was so affected by it. It doesn't make sense, does it? But I give it 4 stars.
Oh, but you scored it. You scored it.
Yeah, exactly. Watching it again, I'll probably give it higher, but yeah, I give it 4 stars. Right, let's move on to I think a film that will probably rate higher than 4 stars. Widows. So a police shootout leaves 4 thieves dead during an explosive armed robbery attempt in Chicago. Their widows have nothing in common except a debt left behind by their spouse's criminal activities. Hoping to forge a future on their own terms, they join forces to pull off a heist. Okay, so first thoughts. Collie, what do you think of this film?
This film's fucking shit. Like, it's like the 3 films we've just discussed. How can this film be made by the same guy? I genuinely, it feels like an out of body experience or something. It's bizarre. It's like, I think the acting's shit, the writing's shit, cinematography's fine. Like, there's some good bits of like Chicago and stuff like that. But there's a 3-hour cut of this film, apparently. Me and you went to see this in the cinema, and we both came out of it going, that was crap. And we'll get on to ratings later, but like, I think I watched this 3 times as well. Once before we agreed to do Steve McQueen, and twice subsequently. And every time I watch it, it gets less and less rated. I just think it's terrible. I think it's fucking crap. Like, I just don't understand how the same person that's done the last 3 films made this film. Like, I just don't get it. It's as if like do you know how like authors do like ghostwriting, and they write like completely different things under a pseudonym and stuff like that? Like J.K. Rowling did that, and she wrote a handful of books, and loads of people do it. It feels like that. Like, if Steve McQueen had made this film but then released it under like, I don't know, Steve McQueen or something like, yeah, or Steve McKing, yeah, exactly. It would be. It's so polar opposite in quality. Not even like just subject matter, because like I said at the start, every film's differently. But it's just crap. Like the Joe. Todd, what do you think of this film? I'm gonna lose my mind. I think I think of all the films we've watched so far, and that's including the Razzies films, this film annoys me the most.
Wow. So I went on, like, this is the first watch for me, and I went on a bit of a journey, because like, we've had this conversation before where like it's been brought up where you're like, widows are so shit, and I started watching it, and I don't go on Letterboxd. I don't go on Letterboxd when I'm watching a film, especially if it's a first watch. I started watching it, I was like, what's their problem? Like, this is all right. And then I went on Letterboxd, and it's like everybody's giving it 4 and 4.5, and like, and I was like, did them two just have like a really bad experience at the cinema, and they've got like PTSD from it or something? And then I want to say slowly but surely, but this film's like 2 and a bit hours long. I want to say within the first half an hour, I was like, oh, this is what they mean. And slowly but surely, I got more and more pissed off. I wasn't watching it again. It's shit. It's really bad. What's happening?
I wasn't watching it again.
All right. No, it's just a bit of behind the scenes thing. Like when we first like do the calls and stuff, and it was it was Massey. It was one of your picks where I was like, I'm really lost on what to say, and Collie was like, watch the film more than once. And I do try and watch them more than once. This film, like, I was just. I have you know I do. You don't. But yeah, like I was just like, I'm not putting it back on. I'm not going back through it. Massey?
It's fucking terrible, isn't it? It's so bad. Like obviously, again, I remember going to the cinema yourself, Collie, and watching it and being like, yeah, that was shit. But like, and at that time, I don't think I like appreciated like how shit it is. Like it's so like there's so much stuff that should work and it should be good. There's a stacked cast. Steve McQueen was spoken about his 3 films, and as you say, Collie, there's nothing that makes me think that's a Steve McQueen film. There's nothing at all that we see in his first 3 films that any way at all indicates that he directed this. Like it's crazy. Like it's so bad. Like it's boring. It's cliche. It's just. There's no real semblance to it. There's like foreshadowing that doesn't make sense. There's them flashbacks that don't make sense. There's little bits and pieces that are peppered into it that are just like weird. There's plot lines that go nowhere and don't really kind of intertwine or anything. It's just bad. Like it's so
I think like before we get onto the performances, because we'll get onto them, like can we just talk about the film in general?
Yeah.
Right? See the person that wrote this, it was the same person that wrote Gone Girl, which I would say is one of like the tightest, like most well written scripts that like in terms of Fincher films especially. Like it's top tier. And then there's this, and you've got lines like, now the best thing we have going for us is being who we are. Alice, why? Because no one thinks we have the balls to pull this off. We have a lot of work to do. Crying is not on the list. What the fuck am I watching?
You know what?
And you know, like, see if I was watching a Guy Ritchie film or something like that, and somebody was called Je t'aime, and somebody came back with a line of like, "Oh, I love you too."
Yeah,
I'd be like, "Oh, that's class. That's Guy Ritchie. That's really smooth." It just felt so forced in this film. I've got red marks all over my head because I've been rubbing my head because I'm getting annoyed.
Going down the pep route.
Just like it just fucking crap. Like. It's just right, like that's the writing. The stuff was annoying me. It was as if, and I'm all for like like when Ocean's films did like the female film and female Ghostbusters and stuff like that. Like that's absolutely fine, and they lean into the kind of we don't have balls kind of thing, which is fine because that's like those kind of films that they are. They're a bit tongue in cheek and fun. I don't know what Steve McQueen was thinking. I genuinely don't know what he was thinking. Like, is this a foray into? Like somebody was comparing this to Heat, right? Somebody was comparing this to Heat on Letterboxd, and I swear I was so close to punching my monitor. I was like, hand was caught back away to just go through it because the only comparison that I have is that it's a heist film. That's it, and even this heist film is like a heist film, like
yeah.
And I don't, and the reason I'm like kind of adding in the kind of the Ocean's films and the Ghostbusters, the female ones, like it's not my issue with this film is not that it's a female heist crew that's seeking revenge and stuff like that. It's just it's so disjointed. It's so all over the place. Like it's as if it's like, oh, I've got loads of cool ideas. Let's just fucking slam them together and we can see what comes out of it. Because see, oh god, what's his name that's in Get Out? I've lost his name. Yeah, Daniel Kaluuya, right? He's like sinister, and like the bowling alley scene's fucking sick, and the bit with the rappers and stuff when he's like the camera's whirling round and he's like eyeballing them and stuff. The rapping is horrendous, by the way. It reminds me of. Why did I choose Steve McQueen? It reminds me of Iggy Azalea when she was on stage and she was like improvising. Yeah. That's what that rap was like to me. This makes no sense. And the fact that like they're obviously kidnapping these two guys and they're in a box and they're rapping when he opens the box. God. And then like just the way that like he shoots one, I was like, oh, that's sick. And then the way that the guy runs away and he shoots the other one, it just looks shit. It just looks bad. it just looks like Expendables 4 level of bad.
Oi.
Uh,
Oi.
no, listen, it just this is making me wanting to rate this even lower than the rating. And I feel like you aren't even saying anything; you're just letting me shout. But
It's funny.
yeah, so like just before we go on to the performances, just in general, the movie of the writing and the cinematography, was there anything that stood out was like good or bad for you, Todd? Like low moments, high moments.
So writing wise, just low. It's performances for me that I'll get onto that I actually enjoyed, but the single lines, the one that like where I nearly did the whole Peter Griffin Dunn thing was the "Don't think you can fuck me over like you did your last crew." What?
Yeah.
Like, just stop it. And I hated the fact that Liam Neeson was still alive. That was stupid. That was really, really stupid. Like, it was, and then a bear came type of thing. It was, and then Liam Neeson's still alive, and it just dragged on.
What I said about the things that were like sort of like sort of like bits and pieces that were littered about and stuff, that was the part that pissed me off when there's the whiskey like the pocket hip flask that's just sitting out there, and she just sees it, and the dog's barking. Fuck off.
Well, so the dog barking set Mavis off, and that was another thing that did me head in. But and she never. Do you know what? She never barks.
Star out of 5.
Dogs
Mavis got annoyed.
No pause out of 5.
She never barks at stuff on the telly or whatever. But that dog set her off, so even she was like, turn this shit off. The cinematography thing that really sort of was the camera outside of the car.
Yes,
giving me like motion sickness. Like, I didn't understand what that. Like, there was no
about that. Like Mark Commode in his review raved about that, and I was like, I don't get it. I was like, it's a cool idea, but I just don't think it was well executed.
No, that's it. It genuinely.
What car are we talking about with that?
Is it the Colin Farrell one?
When they drive, and it's on a weird angle outside of the car.
Okay,
but it's like it's not central on the bonnet. It's like to the left a little bit, and it's not showing. It's not showing anything like people in Chicago. It's not showing like the streets and what's like wrong or right with them. It was literally just here's some dialogue. Do you know what it made me think? That they've shot a scene where they've gone. The actual footage looks shit, but the dialogue sounds really good. What can we do? Just fucking strap a camera to a car and just have a drive around.
That's it, because they didn't show any of the conversation. The conversation happened on the audio while they're showing the car just driving in the street.
It's so bad. No, there was nothing in the actual opening heist. I'll go with the actual opening heist. Had me. I thought the opening was interesting, and the sort of ticking between them. That's all I can.
Oh God.
That's all I've got. Massey, is there anything cinematography, writing wise that you want to touch on?
So obviously Cynthia Erivo is in this, and she's in what's going to be one of the biggest films of this year, Wicked. It's going to be probably an Oscar player, like we've kind of spoke about before and stuff like that. In this, she just runs like the Terminator the whole time. Like, I don't understand it. Like, she just runs from her house to her bus.
Just on that from a plot point, why are they getting the fucking babysitter involved? Because she can drive a car.
Oh my God. It's just insane. Like, I don't understand it. Right, let's try and be a bit more positive. I like Colin Farrell as a douchebag. Like, he's very good at that sort of role of being a fucking dickhead. Brian Tiny Henry, I love him. He doesn't do it for me in this. Like, he's meant to be this menacing sort of dude, but he's not. Viola Davis is fine. I like her in some stuff. She's the lead of this. She's not very good. There's no sort of demon feet. It's just her being stoic the whole time, trying to be badass, and then every so often a tear rolled down her cheek, or Liam Neeson will eat her face off. Like, some of the scenes where they're kissing, some of those scenes where we have fucking point of view shot of Liam Neeson's mouth inside and over Viola Davis' mouth is genuinely disgusting. Like, truly some of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
it was comparable to, you've both seen The Substance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thingy Quaid eating the shrimp. Like, that's how I felt watching them two
Yeah.
kiss. It was horrendous. It was horrible.
That's a good comparison.
It's
That's really
very good. Oh my god. Yeah.
Positively though, I liked, although the rapping and the shooting scene was predictable and cack. I like Kaluuya as that like intense. We don't get him a lot as that, and I thought he was threatening. I did like Brian Tyree Henry as well. I thought he was solid. And Elizabeth Debicki, I thought was. I think she puts in a good, like, again, we're not talking levels of the previous three films that we've talked about, but they were my three standouts. They were the three people who I was like, you've salvaged bits of this film, and that's probably why it hit a 2-star.
The thing with Elizabeth
stars,
Debicki, though, I don't know if it was more her or if it was just the fact that her character was the only one that had an arc. So that's why
maybe
it should, you know, like her performance kind of stood out because her character had turmoil that she kind of went through and she grew as a person a bit, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's that, but yeah, I definitely think she was maybe one of the better ones, I suppose.
And
sorry, you go.
just on what you were saying about Colin Farrell, like, I like him as the douchebag. I like him as the dickhead. The thing, so I haven't watched The Penguin yet, but I was listening to the Friends Per Second podcast this week, and they were talking about the Penguin and how his accent's all over the place, but it's okay because he's like, it's good and he's good, and so like you can accept those dips. Where in this, because the film was bad, every time he dipped back into Irish and then back into American and then out again, like, it really took me away from it. But that's me. Sorry, go on. I don't know if there's performance-wise, Collie. I don't know if there's anything.
Just as a general performance review, I think the dialogue coach in this should never work in film ever again. They're fucking, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. Really bad. And even Viola Davis, just delivery of normal lines like that balls line, it's so wooden. I find her to be so wooden. Some of the letterbox, like, popular reviews, when Ariana Grande said God is a woman, she was talking about Viola Davis. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, it's so I'll read it. Sorry, we'll come back to performance, but the three top reviews, right? Top review, 4 stars out of 5. 4 things you need to know about this movie. It completely and utterly rules from start to finish and is so smart about everything from capitalism to camera placement, right? That's point 1. But, right? No, factually incorrect. 2, Viola Davis carries around her adorable Westie for virtually the entire film. 2, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's actually the same white terrier that's in Game Night, by the way. Which I thought was quite a good bit, tidbit. 3, Elizabeth Debicki's performance inspired me to say the word "stan" out loud for the first time in my entire stupid life, which I can get that in a way. Anyone with cable will watch this on TV no less than 300 times in the next 2 years. Absolutely fucking not, right? So that's one review. That's the top review. That's the most popular review, right? The only point that I'd agree on is the Westie. Second one, 5 stars. 5 stars. Gillian Flynn, who wrote this, who wrote Gone Girl, every morning when she wakes up to write, I got to remind everyone that men are trash. That's the message of this film, apparently, right? I don't fucking get it. I don't. Anyway, right, back to the performances. Viola Davis didn't buy it at all. Right? I thought she was very weak. Like, every time she tried to exude any sort of power over the women, I just thought it was fake. I just didn't really buy it. Very good actress though, but I just didn't think she was in the place to lead a film. Michelle Rodriguez was Michelle Rodriguez. Yeah. Nothing really to write home about. I thought she was fine. Elizabeth Debicki was probably the best of the women, I would say. Her character had an arc. I thought she was interesting. She's very tall, by the way. Like, ridiculously tall. I didn't realise that she was that tall. This is the bottom of the barrel that we're escaping. One of the actresses is significantly taller than the others.
Oh, God.
Cynthia, is it Erivo?
Yeah.
Erivo. I thought she was all right for the small part that she was in. Colin Farrell, again, his dialogue was all over the place, and his like his accent and stuff. He was all right as a baddie. He was fine as a sleazy politician. Seen it a million times before though, so quite cliche. Same with Brian Tyree Henry, good, but again, seen it before kind of thing. Daniel Kaluuya was probably one of the standouts. I didn't particularly like that scene with the rappers and stuff, but I thought he was really good in it. And the scene with the guy in the wheelchair at the bowling alley was really, really good. Yeah, to Robert, Liam Neeson was terrible. Yeah, I just Liam Neeson's this part. You would not believe that guy played Schindler or Qui-Gon or anything like that. Like the last 15 years of his career, and I don't like the Taken films either, particularly. I think they're pretty shit, and he's shit in them. So it was the same in this. John Bernthal was wasted, I thought. Garrett Dillahunt was shit. I didn't like as the driver. I thought he was pretty crap as well. And Robert Duvall as the old guy was just an old grumpy guy, really.
Oh god.
So yeah, top to bottom, pretty wank. Daniel Kaluuya, Elizabeth Debicki, standouts maybe. But even that's saying something. Yeah, I've got nothing else to add. So I'm fine to just move on from this.
I've got a couple of things just to sort of like. When they were trying to get into the safe with the numbers, and the numbers were upside down. No. Oh god.
But it's not even like again, Guy Ritchie film, like a couple of idiots robbing a safe, that would be hilarious, right? This is just like the numbers are upside down. We're women and we're silly. I just don't get it. Like some of it is so like undermining for the women, and some of it's supposed to be so empowering. I just don't know where the message is for it.
Oh,
and it's the fact that they're like pulling off a heist, and none of them have shot a gun before in their life, and I don't know. And the scene was sorry, on you go.
I was just gonna say the heist lasts like 5 seconds. Like it's a heist movie about the
heist lasts. Sorry, the scene where she's demonstrating to Michelle Rodriguez how heavy the bag is, and they're talking about Tupperware. That scene is longer than the heist.
Oh, one last thing.
Sorry, it's like maybe I missed this, right?
Oh god.
See how there's the van outside, and then Daniel Kaluuya steals it, and they're left standing in the street. Do they have another car? Like, because he's driving away, and then like 2 seconds later, they're behind him in a car, and they crash into him and kill him.
Yeah.
I don't know if I just missed that they had a secondary car, and there was a car maybe in the lead up to the heist that they left behind for the van. I don't know, but it was just like, how the fuck have they? And this car's like racing between them and kills Daniel Kaluuya. That was so anticlimactic as well.
Yep.
Is there anything else?
Just one last thing. Sorry. Michelle Rodriguez goes and visits a widower, and they talk for 2 minutes, and then end up kissing.
It's the guy that does the blueprints or something like that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're just like tonguing each other on the sofa, and I can't do this. Bye. I think I said like 3 words to each other or something. Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh Jesus Christ.
I'm just reading the Wikipedia. The film received critical acclaim. I think of all films and of all like film opinions I've ever had, this is the most Will Ferrell and Zoolander. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills I've ever been about a film, because I went in to watch this like prior to like earlier in the year. I was like, I just want to watch this, and like Todd, you were saying at the start, maybe I just had a bad day and I just didn't get it. It's fucking shit, and I just don't get it. And why Steve McQueen wasting his time doing a film like this, I don't know.
Oh god, so funny. Anything else you want to add, Clay? Oh god, that is hilarious. Right, let's score it.
Sorry, just on a review, and I'll steal this phrase. No, I'll steal this phrase while I'm giving my review. It feels like a crazy quilt patchwork of other better films, which is when I was talking about Heat and stuff earlier. It's so all over the place, and it's like, it's not even like, oh, these some bits are good, it's just like across the board bad, and there's some bits that are fucking terrible. It never gets above bad for me. It's 1.5, and oh my god, I could actually score it lower. I still when I first watched it earlier in the week, I gave it 2.5 out of 5. And every time that I've watched it subsequently, it's went down half a star.
Oh me, I'll score it then for mine. I gave it 1.5 as well, and I'm exactly like you. I think that could easily go down, and after chatting about it, I think I've been very generous in the way that, like, with 12 Years a Slave, I was probably a bit more critical. With this, I've been super generous. So 1.5. Todd, what did you give it?
I went 2 stars, and forever will it remain a 2-star film because I'm not going back to it.
Do you know what this has on Rotten Tomatoes, just before we move on? 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, an average rating of 8.1.
That's insane.
Like, what?
That is insane.
But the thing is, I've only ever disagreed with her on one thing in my entire life, and Ao Debris,
Oh yeah,
Sydney, 4.5 stars.
wow.
I'm probably going to see this again, as I love to have fun. So do I, and I did not have fun doing this, watching this.
Oh,
And then, one of the other reviews from, like, somebody who I follow, like, mutually on Letterboxd was, why couldn't John Bernthal have been secretly alive? And do you know what?
Good
This
point.
film would be better. Do you know what would have made this film better? If Michael Fassbender was Liam Neeson.
Yes,
Yeah.
Easy.
100%.
What a redemption arc. You know, that would have been from 12 Years a Slave. Michael Fassbender.
Definitely.
Yes.
Waste of fucking time.
Oh, that's funny. Right, okay, so shall we move on to the last film from Steve McQueen? I think that's probably one of my favourite reviews that we've ever done, by the way. Like, that was funny.
I was like, how am I going to open up when Massey says, what do you think of this film? And I couldn't think of anything more concise than it's fucking shit. Like, it's just...
Right, let's move on to the final film for Steve McQueen, and a film that was just released a couple of weeks ago, really. So Blitz. In World War II London, 9-year-old George is evacuated to countryside by his mother Rita to escape the bombings. Defiant and determined to return to his family, George embarks on an epic, perilous journey back home as Rita searches for him. Collie, first thoughts on Blitz. Was it fucking shit, or was it alright?
It's fucking fine. It's perfectly okay. Again, I just don't know why Steve McQueen's making films like this. For me personally, it had all the kind of parts to make this a good film, and I just didn't like it. I just didn't particularly like it. I thought it was too fluffy when it could have been serious. It's funny. So the kind of Wikipedia, sorry, has like a premise for it. It doesn't have a plot breakdown yet. But it says at the end of it that the young boy, goes on an adventure trying to get back to his mother, only to find himself in immense peril from a succession of Dickensian characters. And that's what this felt like to me, was fucking Oliver Twist set in Blitz times. Don't get me wrong, there are good bits in it, but I just was really, really let down by this. It's like 0 for 2 for me on McQueen hitting it. So he was like 3 for 3 masterpieces, and then 0 for 2 in the last two. Todd, what did you think of Blitz?
I enjoyed it. I saw. I love the performances, but I like the sort of adventures. That probably a good word, like that adventure side of it. The sort of, it did have an element, and I know it's going to sound ridiculous, of like that sort of Pinocchio about it, in that like it's somebody lost in a world that they don't understand and that they've never experienced before, and meeting all Dickensian is that, like, you know, these characters that like are frightening, that he has to be wary of, even to like the kids that he meets in the train car that actually he ends up being really sound with, and what happens with them. I don't think it's one I'll go back to. I don't think it's one that I'll be sticking on, you know, once every few months or whatever. But I really enjoyed it, and especially some of the performances as well. Massey?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I did. There was some things that I don't think maybe worked as well. There was bits that were more interesting that maybe didn't then get a full exploration. Like I really liked the sort of like bits we got into the sort of how the black people were treated through the war, and how like their sort of like their sort of stories and their sort of things that they had to also kind of maneuver, as well as being bombed. There were still like, you know, racism and things. I thought that those sort of like threads could have been explored more for me, and it would have made it more of an interesting film. But as a sort of like a film set in World War II in London, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I thought the little kid at first was going to annoy me, but I warmed him as the film went on, and there was some pretty good set pieces. So yeah, I feel like I enjoyed the film. To be fair, in terms of performances, then of course we're kind of our very own Saoirse Ronan is the main sort of person in this, along with obviously her her kid Elliot Heffernan as George. What were your thoughts on their sort of the double act, their performances, Collie? I
thought Saoirse Ronan was wasted. Personally, I didn't think she had much to do. But I thought the young lad was good. I thought he was good. Again, like I say, like I'm not like too negative on it. It's just like it's not what I expected, and it's not what it could have been. So I was more just let down. I don't think it's bad per se. Like I said at the start, it's fine. But I thought he was a standout. He was probably one of my best, one of my favorite things in it. Just a little like escapades and stuff that he gets onto. It's like it's almost fun in a way. Like there is obviously like dark times and stuff, but like when he's palling about with the wee lads on the like not the original train when they're being racist. That's terrible. But when he meets
thank you for clarifying that, Colin.
It's just when I said the lads on the train, but it's when he meets the three brothers, like the three young lads anyway. I think maybe two of them are brothers and one of them's a pal or something. Obviously that ends in tragedy, which is really sad. But I thought their dynamic was like it was probably like Cockney, like cheeky lad, like Oliver Twist. That's all I could think of. And then it wasn't until after I seen the film when I was thinking of Oliver Twist, the description on Wikipedia talks about Dickensian characters, and I was like, oh yeah, that's absolutely like spot on. Like obviously later on when he meets Stephen Graham's gangs, which is, again, why is Stephen Graham wasting his time in a thing like that? Like it's so below him. I don't know if he just like maybe wants to get in about like to work with Steve McQueen in the future, maybe, and that was just to get him on board. I don't know. I'd love to see them work together. Something in the future. But he was wasted as well. Sorry, I know we'll get onto him. But no, I thought the young lad George was good. Elliot Heffernan, how you pronounce his name? But I thought he was good. But Saoirse Ronan was wasted personally. And like you were saying, Massey, like a couple of threads with her and that lad in the bar and stuff just went nowhere. Just went absolutely nowhere. But yeah, just if we're just purely talking about those two right now, Saoirse wasted, young lad good.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we're kind of going through this one quite quicker because of obviously time and stuff like that. So if you want, feel free to just kind of crack onto the rest of the cast as well. Then
Paul Weller as the dad was quite random, but I thought he was good. Like the kind of broken narrative, fractured narrative, however you want to describe it. I thought that was quite decent. Like I did enjoy that. How like the piano, them at the piano was used multiple times. I thought that was quite sweet. But he was decent. Stephen Graham was all right. I thought Benjamin Clementine. Is it Ife? Yeah. How you? I thought he was good. Like he always seems to come up in films, and maybe I've not seen him in too much that I can remember, but I thought his was a powerful performance. It was actually I was discussing this after the fact with somebody who'd seen it, and they were questioning, not in like a negative way, but they were like, was there really that much like black presence in London at the time? So I did a bit of research, and there was a mass exodus of like Gold Coast and Caribbean influx in the early 1900s and stuff. Whether ascending to a position of like a policeman or that, I don't know how. But if there's anything that I trust Steve McQueen with, it's like that is factually accurate. He wouldn't have it in the film if it wasn't. For example, like the tube flooding, it was a different station he used, but that actually legit happened. People did drown in a station that was flooded and stuff. So I wasn't really questioning that. So I thought he was really good. One of the more touchy moments, it was a bit heavy-handed maybe, was when he was questioning Ife about being black and stuff, and then like the last thing he says to him is, "Oh, I am black." I thought that was quite powerful. I don't know if I like exactly. It felt a bit shoehorned in maybe, but I thought the message it conveyed was very powerful in terms of like he never knew his dad, but this is an influential black figure in his life that he doesn't have at home because obviously his mum white, grandfather white and stuff like that. So he never really maybe had that figure in his life. So I thought that was quite endearing, and a good part of the message in the film. Todd's casting wise, anyone stand out to you? Any performances?
I thought Saoirse Ronan was good. I think she, again, it seems to be a lot with Steve McQueen's direction, but she tells a lot with her face, and I think, you know, the hurt and stuff, and the vulnerability. So like when she sings in the factory, I thought that was, and if that again that was her singing, you know, sound really good. Thought she was brilliant. I thought George was. I really liked George. He had that sort of cheekiness about him. He had that again vulnerability. I like their relationship as well. Like at the beginning where they're doing like the drums and stuff. Like
That was good, yeah.
It was just like
that was fun.
yeah. It felt natural. It felt real, and like again, with Paul Weller, I was sort of like, I know his face, and obviously like I've not seen him in a long time, or like I've seen a picture of him or whatever, but you can still see that it's Paul Weller, you know. And again, really good. The little lass on the train who was like a 40-year-old woman, it made me laugh. I watched it twice, and she's like, "Is he your fella?" Like proper, like old woman. Like that was amazing. That made me laugh. Just quickly touching on like the idea of like the identity, like and race, and then racism within World War II. Like we looked at slavery in history in school, but it wasn't as big a part of the curriculum as it is now, which rightfully so. You know, the more eyes on it and thinking about it more. We never looked at Northern Ireland in general. That wasn't a part of our school life. World War II was like, you learned about it every single year. It was like a massive part of it. But at no point did I really consider that racism was still very much alive and well, and like was a big part of people's lives. Do you know? So I think, you know, whether it's the club scene, even when they playing cricket, and like the mates, they playing cricket together, and he's still like using those phrases. I thought that was, you know, important to put in, but really well done as well. Yeah, and I thought Ife was amazing. Like he had that sort of, he could have been a bastard, and everybody that, you know, he's met on these travels so far has either been confusing, like the woman on the bus, where he's like, "Am I on the right bus?" And she's like, "Well, you are, but you're not, and you've got to go on this bus and then take this street." And like everything's been difficult for him, and this one character that he's met who has that sort of soft side to him, and it's mad that he didn't identify with him as being black. Like, do you know what I mean? And that sort of, if he's been, you know, all the way through the film up until this point, we've seen this kid be racially abused, like by different people for the, you know, for his race, and that'll have added to the confusion of like, but I'm not black. You know, he doesn't see himself the same as Ife until he's had that conversation, and I thought that was really well done. Like you say, maybe a little bit quick. It happened too quickly in terms of the dialogue, but it was amazing that it was in there. Yeah, like you say, I thought performances wise, the only one I was a bit sort of thing was Harris Dickinson.
Yes.
Is like he was just. I thought he was being built up to be this character who was going to be something, and you know, had the morals and was like telling these people to sit down and watch the mouth and stuff, and then just went to nothing. And he's a good actor. He's solid, and just did nothing really. With what he got. Massey?
Yeah, I mean, that was the one that I was going to talk about, or at least kind of touch on, was Harris Dickinson, because you guys have covered kind of exactly how I feel about the rest of them. You know, Saoirse Ronan, really good, if slightly underused. George, really good. Stephen Graham, very underutilized, I think, for me. Kathy Burke as well. She was kind of like a bit of humor in the thing, and had these like paint on eyebrows and stuff, and almost embodied the ugliness of what they were doing. Anyway, I thought she was a nice bit of that. But yeah, Harris Dickinson, like Iron Claw, man, like what, he was incredible in that. Like, you know, I wanted to see more from him, and I thought I was going to, as you say, I thought it was building up for him to be a sort of moral compass, or like the person that could then carry, I don't know, the family. I don't know, but he just didn't go down that. And then there was like just loads of little bits that should have been explored more for me. The fact if he dies off screen and things as well, and he's just in passing, like that. it just didn't kind of sit right for me. So like, yeah, it feels like a missed opportunity with a lot of things. But I did quite enjoy what we saw. And yeah, I think it's strange. It's funny, Collie, what you said about like fact he's 0 for 2. Like, I don't know if I'd call this a miss, but it's like erring so close to miss, and it's also missed what I think could have been a lot better than what it was, or could have had a different message and stuff. But yeah. Harris Dickinson, poor Harris Dickinson. Okay, anything else that you want to discuss about this film? Then was there anything that kind of stood out, or
Just for me, the change between like the sort of camaraderie and like the sort of the girls enjoying themselves in the factory to like the fear and I thought that was brilliant. I thought the switch between that was great, and I thought the music was excellent. The industrial sort of like when they're in the factory and the music is made by the sounds of the factory sort of thing. I thought that was really, really well done. And I love the end. I thought it gave you the on the way to the end, like as George has run through the town, and there's just your man sat there having a tab on the couch in the house that's been absolutely like his wife's sweeping the upstairs, and he's just sat there like no wall, just this is what it is now. But like I loved the ending that we got. Like I said, it was the ending that we hoped for, but not the way that we wanted. Like as in we wanted him to come back home. Like that's what we, but we didn't. We wanted him to come back home to his mum and his granddad, and obviously Paul Weller's dead. But yeah, so that.
Why do you say it like that?
Couldn't think of a different way to say it. And he's just there. He was dead. But yeah, so I really liked, and like I said, I loved the adventure side of it. I think that so when you were saying about like it's more of a miss than a hit, I still really enjoyed it. Like I said, I don't know if I'd revisit it, but I wouldn't call it a miss as such. But yeah, so, like
just for clarification, I'm not saying it is a miss. I'm saying it maybe missed other things that could have went through. So don't put words in my mouth, please.
To me, it's a complete miss. So you can quote me on that.
I can say that for you. Okay. Yeah, but
Fair
apart
enough.
from that, happy to.
Fair enough. Okay, Collie, what did you rate it?
3 out of 5.
Todd?
I went for 4.
I give it 4 as well. Absolutely. Okay, so in terms of our Steve McQueen ratings, then, why don't we take it away? Collie, do you want to give us your 5 to 1 or 1 to 5, whatever you wish?
Yeah. So number ones. Oh,
I was gonna say, what was last?
yeah, we'll go bottom to top then. So Widows was the worst one for me. Yeah, I know. Then Blitz, then Shame, then Hunger, then 12 Years a Slave.
Fair. Todd?
Yeah, Widows at the bottom, a significant jump to Blitz, and then a little bit of a jump to Shame, Hunger, 12 Years a Slave at the top.
Fair. I went Widows, then Blitz, then Shame, 12 Years a Slave, and then Hunger. So yeah. Okie doke, that was Steve McQueen. Collie, I'm so glad you chose Mr. McQueen, if not just for the Widows review. Have you calmed down yet, or are you still heated?
Yeah, I never have to watch it again, so...
Good stuff. Perfect. Right, okay, so before we go into our next choice, I just want to say again, thank you so much if you've been watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify. Again, please give us a thumbs up, comment below what you thought of Steve McQueen, go back and watch the other ones as well and see what you thought of them. Of course, you can find us on Twitter at LCD_pod, but we appreciate your support, and Todd will now let us know what our next episode is on.
So our next episode, we will be watching the films of Rian Johnson.
That could be a good one.
Yeah.
You want to list them off so people can start getting prepared for them? Or do you want me to?
Todd's got
yeah, if you go on.
Go on, Brett, the Brothers Bloom, Looper, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, and then Knives Out and Glass Onion.
Excellent. That'll be a good one. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. And we will see you in the next when we talk about Mr. Ryan Johnson. Goodbye.
Cheers, everyone.
In a bit.